down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. All I hang around is block boys. In my pocket, that's a knot, boy. Think you hot, but you not, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, boy. Bass beating down your block, stunting.
Bro, whoever that motherfucker, whoever is saying, like, out there saying that the Snyder Cut is mid and it's the same as this version, is capping. It's hella capping. Look at this, bro.
The most obvious difference between the two versions of the film is the tone. There's so many examples like
the tone is so different. I prefer this tone over this. Like this. Don't even really be making sense.
Could use to illustrate this, but even the opening seconds of the film.
Look at that. Bro, that's
how
bad.
Wildly different each of these films are going to be in terms of how they frame their stories. Tone is constructed through a lot of different elements of the filmmaking. How you light a scene makes a difference. Whedon reshot scenes like this one in the airplane. The lighting of the original.
Oh my God, this I forgot about this. This looks so bad. The lighting on this looks so terrible.
Whedon reshot scenes.
Now it only looks good because the rest of the movie looked the same.
This one in the airplane.
But compared to this, oh my God, bro.
The lighting of the original Snyder version is just
way better.
More moody, and Whedon's shooting.
And it fits Batman. Why is this bright on Batman, bro? This fits more on
a lot
for
more
Batman.
like a comedy. We see more of the image more clearly. That has an effect on tone.
It's already here.
For the same shots, how they're color graded.
Look at how it's color graded.
The choice of music is a big element.
Bro. Look at it. Bro. This is so different from the other one, bro. Look at this.
That's how they're color graded affects tone. The choice of music is a big element.
And look how it's shot. The difference of the shot.
Even the choice of a prop like a shovel can affect the tone of the film. In this video, I'm going to go into all those little differences in the filmmaking of the two versions of Justice League, how they differ and how those differences affect tone, pacing, and ultimately the overall experience of watching the film. Thanks to Mubi for sponsoring this video.
Part 1, obligatory expositional context.
While I think the Snyder Cut is a far from perfect film, I found it way more compelling, entertaining, and interesting than the original, which honestly kind of bored me out of my mind. But I wanted to know why. What exactly were the differences, and why did I enjoy the Snyder Cut so much more? I watched the two films back to back and then loaded them into my editor to see exactly how much overlap and how many differences there were.
So much better, man.
Snyder was already a significant way into the production of Justice League when Joss Whedon was brought on by the studio to try to make some.
Oh my God! This is not bad. There's certain colored shots that don't look bad, but
and how many differences there were. Snyder was already a significant way into the production of Justice League when Joss Whedon.
But look at this compared to this.
Was brought on by the studio to try to make some changes that they wanted. Snyder had to step away, and Whedon ended up.
Bro, look at Steppenwolf.
To make some changes that they wanted. Snyder had to.
Look at Steppenwolf. Completely different.
Step away.
He looks, bro.
And Whedon ended up finishing the film. What we're getting to see now is the Snyder Cut, which is what Snyder originally intended for the film to be, plus about $70 million of additional shooting. Whedon's version has about 16 scenes that are reshot. He also added about 7 new scenes that aren't in the Snyder Cut at all. There are about 22 scenes that are in both films but are just edited differently, and about 24 scenes that are in the Snyder Cut that aren't in the
Oh my God, bro, this looks so bad. This looks so, bro.
Cut at all. But it's not about tallying up all the little differences in terms of plot or content. What I want to focus on are the smaller changes that...
Like, it doesn't need to be this bright. Like, I get the whole, oh, we don't like the moody tone, but like Superman died. There's a threat coming to Earth. Why would it be all happy and bright? Like, I don't understand
affect
that.
the film's pace, tone.
Like, this looks so much better than this. And it's nothing against the color grading, but it's like, you clearly can see they pulled a lot of like the contrast out and the saturation out, bro.
And story.
For no reason.
This is not a discussion of how each of these films treat the superhero lore or toxic fandoms or
Oh yeah, no, we're talking about the difference between
the
each
drama
other.
behind the scenes. I want to play film
Oh, I'm talking about the drama behind the scenes. He may not. Nigga,
detective to
that shit. What?
find out exactly why I liked one of these so much more and bring you along for the ride to see what we can learn along the way.
Part 2, The Tale of Two Tones.
Let's break down a scene and see how several different elements can work together to affect the tone. In both versions of this scene, Aquaman has rescued a guy from a shipwreck. He drops him off at a pub, asks for a whiskey, grabs the whole bottle, and walks away, diving into the sea. But the tone, and therefore...
But the tone is different, and Whedon's version is like quick shots compared to like Zach's, where it's like a lot of like slow. You're actually there. You're actually like you're in the mood. Like, I don't want to say in the mood, but you're in the scene. The scene has more weight when it's like not cut so much.
For what each scene represents for the character and the story is radically different. In the original Justice League, this moment is kind of like...
Yeah, this, I didn't like.
And in this version, it's struggling, fighting his
I like this music. The music fits with this
inner
one.
demons and, pushing through it or something like that. You could argue about which of these is better, which sets up the character better. I think the tone of the song that Snyder chooses fits sort of the aesthetic of what's on screen a lot better. But if we look back earlier in the scene, we can see that the way the scene is cut also affects the tone. In the Snyder Cut, the representation of Aquaman as brooding and melancholic is bolstered by the bartender's reaction to him and his awkward walk to the door. The Whedon cut avoids this, using either a different take or a recut to portray Aquaman as more confident, and also gives the scene more energy by adding a smash cut to bring in the music. I think it's pretty clear that a lot of the motivation behind the changes that were made for the Whedon version were made to try to change the film's tone. They went to great lengths
Yeah, they changed the fuck out of the tone in that movie.
to try to do this. Some of the more ridiculous examples include changing the design of the drawing of the parademons, or replacing the skull, changing the design of the
Yeah, I don't know why they chose the Batman one. This would have made more sense, to be honest.
drawing of the
But then again, you say it looked like a man with wings.
parademons, or replacing the skull on the screen and Flash's lair with a K-pop music video, I guess.
What?
Besides these
They replaced the skull with
on the
K-pop?
screen and Flash's lair with K-pop
And it's so bright too. Look at this. Look at the
parademons.
Look at the coloring.
Or replacing the skull
tone.
on the screen
Look at the tone. This looks so good, right? This is a beautiful shot right here.
and Flash's lair with
And then look how close up they made it, super close. And then it's hella bright. Like
K-pop music video, I guess. Besides these aesthetic elements, obviously a big part of establishing a tone also comes down to the writing of scenes and dialogue.
Oh my
You
god.
had enough to deal with. Don't need to add mother-in-law to the list.
But I found a little place that suits me just fine, right by the diner.
And you got the little music in the background to fit this with them talking, like, bro. And the lighting is better, bro. I would rather watch this than the left. When they showed this scene, I was fucking pissed because I was like, why is it so bright? Like, this is the shit y'all are advocating for? Y'all all for this bright ass movie? And mind you, I'm not saying that every DC movie needs to be dark and have a dark tone to it, but I don't think any superhero movie should be this bright. Like, this is, and maybe and you see there's a difference between Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron in the term of like the color grading and all that. the brightness in this movie, like the saturation, the brightness in this movie was unnecessary.
I'm not here for help.
And it's not even and Josh Whedon's version doesn't even feel like a cinematic like superhero movie. It just feels like, I don't know. I don't even know what to describe it. It just doesn't feel like a cinematic. Like Zack's feels like a cinematic superhero movie. This one, and there's no wonder this movie did bad. And this came out before Avengers Infinity War. No wonder this movie did bad. Holy shit.
Is reshooting scenes.
This dude's not gonna talk about it. No disrespect towards him, but I'm talking about it.
Adding in lines that are more jokey and
dumber.
Oof. You're gorgeous and fierce and strong and
I don't think really a lot of these land.
That shit was not necessary. Oh, bro. Oh my god, he's hitting points that was some bullshit, bro. Dumber.
Oof.
First, this scene wasn't needed.
You're gorgeous and fierce and strong and
I don't think really a lot of these land.
This right here, this was an unnecessary scene. This didn't need to be in the movie. This didn't need to be in the movie. And then on top of that, Gal Gadot, who plays Wonder Woman, or Gal Gadot, I don't know how you like say her last name, but Gal, she refused to shoot the scene. And you know what Zach does? Or not Zach. You know what Josh Whedon does? Hires a stunt double to do it. So if that's the movie y'all fuck with, hey, go ahead.
Okay, but so far I've only shown that the tone is different in the Snyder Cut. None of this explains why it's better. Snyder's darker, brooding, moody tone has often been criticized in the past.
I don't understand that. Why are y'all so criticizing? Does every superhero movie needs to be fucking bright and happy and all that shit, bro? I'm like, and then you're complaining about Batman v Superman, but it has Batman. That's the first time we're seeing Batman in the DCEU. So, of course, it's going to have some brooding tones to it. The fuck? Like...
And Warner Brothers / DC as a studio have kind of wanted to potentially lean away from this, like, overly brooding, like, dark tone that
it's
Snyder
not even
has
that
brought to a
dark.
lot of these films.
It's not even that dark. Look, bro, this looks way better than this. I'm sorry. The grass is way too green. I don't like see Flash is being more red. I don't mind, but like it was just
part of what the studio.
The thing is, I'll give Josh Whedon. There's some shots where the coloring actually looks good, but like majority of it, it's just like it's unnecessary.
Beyond seems like Whedon was trying to do was to sort of change the tone. Honestly,
yeah, he was trying to change the tone, and I'm like, bro, like. Y'all, and that's where y'all trying to go into that Marvel territory and try to be Marvel, where everything's got to be jokey. That's the other thing I didn't like about this movie, about Josh's version of it, like, or Josh's. I don't like Josh's version because it's just like you try to be too jokey. Like they're doing the exact thing that people are complaining about what Marvel is like, where it's too jokey and all
into
that.
Something a little more Marvel-esque. The
Right.
way I see it, there's not
and
an
it's DC. Why are you trying to be like Marvel, bro?
Best tone. Like light and fun isn't somehow objectively better than like moody and dark. As an individual, you might prefer a lighter or darker tone personally, but what I think is the most important in telling an effective story is having a tone that is consistent and one that matches with the story you're trying to tell. In the original version, the tone just feels forced because, well, it is. It really clashes with...
Yeah, it just... Bro, he's right. That shit is so... It just feels so forced, and it doesn't match with the story, or at least when I say for the story, it doesn't match with the stakes. So the whole stakes is Superman's gone. Superman, and you know the biggest difference of the two movies that the dude was trying to say, oh, it's the same. Not this dude, somebody else. Saying, oh, it's the same movie, bro. It's definitely not because like, bro, I don't know why Josh decided to make it lighter, but Superman just died in the last movie, in Batman v Superman. So Superman just died. that means there's no Superman. Meaning the people who looked up for a savior and loved and all that is dead. So it should be mourning. People should be mourning in the film. It shouldn't be just straight up, oh, it's bright, everything's all good, happiness, da da da. It doesn't fit. And then the stakes are, we need to bring him back to stop the villain, and he's not really the big bad. He's just a villain. But we need to stop the villain. So and so like, bro, they just like if the stakes is to bring him back, the thing needs to be moody before it becomes super bright and hopeful. And then the way they ended it by stopping Steppenwolf, and like it was so anticlimactic because it's just like, all right, they smell fear, so they went against Steppenwolf, who Steppenwolf is a lot stronger than them. So they take him back into the fucking to Darkseid's place, and we don't get to see Darkseid. Like that's like what's the point of showing all of this, bro? Like,
with the existing material that's there, and what you end up with is a movie that has scenes like this.
Cal, no.
Kal-El, no.
Oh, Kal-El, no. That shit just, people meme the fuck out of her, bro. I'm telling you.
Kal-El, no.
Kal-El, no.
Right along scenes like this.
This janitor's wife had some strong words for the aliens she says stole her man.
If Whedon had maybe been trying...
Bro, that's so bad. That is so bad. Why? What's the point of showing that? That goes along with that stupid humor, bro. The unnecessary humor in the movie. And what's funny is, in Zach's movie, there's humor in it, and it fits. Like,
trying to make his version of this movie from the start, maybe a lighter, more fun tone would have worked, but this attempt to sort of force a lot of what Snyder had already done into the box of being a fun film, it wasn't working.
At all.
That's not to say Snyder's tone is perfect. There are still places where the tone feels a little weird or over the top to me, but it actually feels like a movie that knows what it wants to feel like and come across as, rather than the original, which just felt like an attempt to copy paste an Avengers color grade over top of an existing moody film.
Look at the difference. Look at the
Avengers color grade over top of an existing moody film, rather than the original, which just felt like an attempt to copy paste an event.
I get people want bright and hopeful Superman, but like, we still gotta work up to it. Like, bro, like people forget, like, Man of Steel, Superman still, like, that's still his first time becoming Superman, like being Superman. Batman v Superman, he's Superman, he's doing Superman stuff, but he's got to fight Lex Luthor, and he ends up dying against fighting Doomsday. Then he comes back. You can't just jump straight to, oh, he's bright and hopeful. It doesn't match the whole movie or the whole thing of movies. But I get why people would be mad in the sense of like, it's too dark. Superman shouldn't be dark and all that, but are okay watching the animated versions where there's some dark stuff happening to Superman, and they'll love that though. They'll love that, but hate on Zach's Superman, like, come on, bro. Or how Zach shoots Superman, like, it's ridiculous.
Color grade over top of an existing moody film. I also think it just speaks to this weird debate about tone that I think completely misses the point of DC versus Marvel films. I think a lot of fans and the studio themselves misidentify the difference between these films as primarily a tonal one. I mean, the tones are definitely different, but the reason the Marvel films are more successful is because they've generally been better made, more entertaining, better better written films. They just also happen to have a lighter tone. But because that's an easy to spot difference between the two, it's something fans complain about when the DC films aren't as good, and then the studio thinks, hey, if we just make it have a lighter tone, it'll do better.
Like, no, it just needs better writing. Like, better writing. If that's the case, right? It's just better writing and how I shot. It's, like you said, it just so happens it has a lighter tone. Like, you could have a dark tone and have, like...
Night has one of the darkest tones of any superhero film, and it's one of the most popular. You don't achieve Marvel's success by just mimicking their tone.
Right.
You do it by telling stories that are as engaging and entertaining to your audience.
Facts. Part 3, how a 2-hour running time was gained and everything was lost. Oh my god. Please speak about this.
Take a look at both versions of the scene that introduces Wonder Woman and pay attention to the differences in pacing.
Look at this, bro. Look at this.
Of the scene that introduces...
Look, this one's moving faster and is brighter. This one's moving slower and it's a little darker.
Wonder Woman.
Everybody's mourning over Superman. Why is this super bright? Like, this would mean he's still alive. Like, why is it super bright?
Pay attention to the differences in pacing. The first thing you'll notice comparing the two is just how much longer the lead up to the action is in the Snyder Cut. By the time the van has pulled up to the building in the Snyder Cut, in the original the baddie is already out of the van and has shot through several victims. The basic structure of the scene is the same in both versions. The terrorists come in, take some hostages, Wonder Woman is introduced,
oh my god,
and she
that
saves
brightness
the day.
is so bad. Like, I don't understand people, like, and I understand people saying, like, oh, they're both bad movies. Okay, you're capping. You're capping at that point. You're why you think they're bad movies? Oh, they're just bad. Okay, you're capping. Is this nigga wearing a wig compared to this dude? Wait.
But the original cut...
No, it's the same dude. It's unnecessary. This is unnecessarily needs to be bright, bro. This doesn't need to be this bright.
But the original cuts 4 minutes out of the scene, over half its original length, and it does so without sacrificing any plot information, which works if your goal is simply to cut down the running time.
Right, if you're
so
trying to
while
cut it
what's
down.
cut doesn't affect the clarity of what's going on, it does dramatically affect how the scene feels. This time spent on the long walk up to where the hostages are in the Snyder Cut that is mostly trimmed out of the original, it might feel unnecessary, but that extra minute of building tension...
People say it's unnecessarily, but like when you actually go watch this movie and you go watch the Whedon's version, it's necessary. The weight of Diana throwing the bomb up in the air and you're watching it go up in the air and you hear the countdown, and that weight of you're waiting for it to explode and you're just hearing it and explode and the big impact. It gives it more of a bigger it gives them bigger impact and a bigger feel to it, where it's just like damn, like if she wasn't there to save them, that could have been bad. Like, yeah, she throws in the air and Whedon's version real fast and explodes. Yeah, boom. But in Zach's versions, where it's slow-mo, and this is where people were complaining about it's too much slow-mo. You need the slow-mo to give the effect for the gravity and the weight of certain scenes. You can't just do what he did in here, where she just goes through the roof, throws in the air, and it explodes real fast, and then boom. Like, that whole weight, bro.
Which works if your goal is simply to cut down the
Boom.
running time. So while
Those
what's
in the
cut
air.
doesn't
This
affect
is already
the clarity
exploding.
of
Look.
what's going on,
Boom.
it does dramatically affect how the scene
And it gives that dramatic feel to the scene.
This time spent on the long walk up
And then it gives that dramatic feel when you're talking about the long walk. It gives that dramatic feel because it's like, damn, like, oh shit, this is serious.
to where the hostages are.
Compared
in
to
the
like the dude's already in the building, he's already upstairs, people are already upstairs. Like,
Snyder Cut that is mostly trimmed out of the original, it might feel unnecessary, but that extra minute of building tension and danger before Wonder Woman is introduced creates suspense and makes it more impactful when she is revealed. And in the Snyder Cut, after we see Wonder Woman, we go back inside the building, spending some time with the bad guys and in the perspective of the hostages again. It further builds suspense because now we're waiting to see when and where Wonder Woman will step in.
and you cut all this out, and she just automatically busts through the door and saves the day. Like how she get in? All right, they don't even show how she get in, but how she take out the guards that are guarding on the outside. You tell me all the bad guys are just in that one room with the bomb? There's no one outside patrolling. Like, that's what made me like this scene like a lot. Like,
Yeah.
bro.
In the original, Wonder Woman is revealed, and then she just immediately gets to work and saves the day, and all the tension is lost. The scene is
there's the same
reduced to
scene.
its
Okay.
most fundamental action and plot points. The Snyder Cut also contains this moment, which helps humanize and develop Wonder Woman as a character
Right.
a bit, something she's
And they
really
cut that out.
lacking in the original.
And they cut
this
that out.
pattern kind of replicates itself throughout a lot of the scenes that are in both films. And in some scenes, it's not even an instance of taking out big chunks of the scene. It's just trimming every shot like a little bit so that it flows faster.
Bro. That's a lot of cut. They
It's
cut
clear-
this part out
clear from
too?
both behind.
Yo! They cut this part. Nah, bro. See, yeah, he's tripping. This is a dope scene, and this is a dope shot, and you trimmed this part out.
It's clear from both behind the
That's-
scenes reports
that's
and just
stupid.
seeing the two versions side by side that a big priority for the studio was reducing the running time. Instead of aiming for the running time that was necessary to convey the story they were trying to tell, the studio had a goal of achieving a specific running time. And in the process of cutting all that material down to the running time they wanted, they ended up pacing the film too quickly and removing a lot of the stuff that makes it an enjoyable, engaging film. It's about finding the pace that's right for the story you're trying to tell. For Justice League, there's a lot going on. The script is written as a sort of epic. There are a lot of characters that need to be introduced, a lot of moving pieces in the plot, and slowing down the pace helps us understand all of these things and
This
feel
guy
their
gets it.
significance.
This guy gets it.
Here's an example.
Would you like to have some?
No, thank you. If you put the water in first.
Of course.
So we don't scald the tea.
A little scene between Wonder Woman and Alfred about having tea might feel inconsequential and unimportant, but it has an impact on how we perceive the story.
Right,
First, it
what?
develops their characters a little bit. Seeing them do something mundane and relatable makes them feel more human. Second, it indicates the passage of time. Seeing the characters killing time and doing something that isn't directly related to advancing the plot makes it feel like there's story happening while we're not around watching. This adds to the film's sense of scale and actually makes it feel like it's taking a while for this team to assemble. It's not just something that happens
Just
overnight.
happy. Thank you. I like that. It shouldn't just be automatically, they're just together and now like the team's together automatically. No, it should take a little time. It shouldn't just automatically, we had this one experience fighting this thing and now let's team up and fight the big bad guy. No, bro. It should be like everybody doesn't trust somebody. Like people don't trust people. There's some issues. Like it should take a little bit before they come together. Like, come on, bro.
The biggest issue with the original is the fact that they just tried to force a running time onto a story that was meant to be much longer. They did attempt to rewrite and cut some things out so that the story fit into the shorter running time, but I don't think they did enough. Most of the time, when it's a scene that shows up in both versions,
I
I
might as
like
well
the
just reshoot
version
the whole
that's in the
movie
Snyder
and do
Cut a
all
lot
that.
more. In the original Justice League, it just feels like a montage where we're jumping from one thing to the next as quickly as possible. Now, I can't talk about pacing and give the Snyder Cut a free pass. The Snyder Cut has pacing issues in a different way. The original tries to do too much in too little time, and the Snyder Cut tries to do too much in too much time. I personally like the Snyder Cut better because I think it contains the elements that are...
But you know what's funny? What's the most hilarious thing is people complain about how like the movie is too long and they're doing too much. They're doing too much and under too much time. But didn't Lord of the Rings do the same thing? But people love Lord of the Rings. I like that's where I like this is where it throws me off. How you gonna fuck with Lord of the Rings when that movie's the 3 movies together is long as fuck. By themselves is just as long. But when it comes to Zack Snyder's Justice League, 4 hours is too long. The movie's so engaging and so interesting to watch that 4 hours feels like it goes by fast, even though it really is a lot of time, but it goes by fast, and the movie leaves you for wanting more, in my opinion. It leaves you wanting more. So I just don't understand how people complain about the running time, which I understand. Nobody, like, a lot of people don't want to sit in a 4-hour movie. Like 3 hours is probably like the most, like, most people will watch. But if they did a 4-hour movie on a Marvel movie and it's a big hit, like it's just like people forget that Lord of the Rings exists. Lord of the Rings exists, and people watch that movie. Hold on, let me pull it up. Hold on, I got you. Let's see. Let's do Fellowship of the Ring. Fellowship of the Ring. Its runtime is... What is its runtime? If I can find it. What is all this? So Lord of the Rings is 2 hours and a 58-minute movie. Okay. Not bad. Lord of the Rings. Okay. Let's do Rings of... not Rings of Power. The fuck? Not Rings of Power. Lord of the Rings. There's Fellowship of the Ring. The Two Towers. 2 hours and 59 minutes. And Lord of the Rings... Return of the King is 3 hours. So you have two 2-hour movies and a 3-hour movie, which that shouldn't the 2-hour movies is a big difference between a 4-hour movie. I get that. But you have the last movie, which in my opinion, I really love the Return of the King. The Return of the King, Lord of the Rings is fire, in my opinion. But to complain about this movie, and a lot of people fuck with Lord of the Rings, especially that third movie, which is 3 hours. You telling me one more hour is gonna be bad for you? The movie is literally 3 hours and 30 minutes, bro. 3 hours and 30 minutes. Look, Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, 3 hours and 30 minutes. So you're telling me you can't sit there and watch a 4-hour movie? And my thing is, I can't believe people are actually complaining about a superhero movie with superheroes in it. That with the best superheroes, Batman, Superman, Flash, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, did I name them? And Aquaman. You're telling me a 4-hour movie is too long for you? When, like, that should be that. Why is that a complaint? That should be a good thing. You should want more content of a superhero movie. And that's long. I'm not saying all, like, they all should be like this, but I'm saying, like, the fact that people are complaining about that this movie is too long, and you're getting 4 hours of Justice League content, which I don't know whenever we're ever gonna get another Justice League movie, especially on this scale and in this art style that looks so good. And you're complaining about that? Like, bro, then what do you want? Like, what is it that you want? Like, you're complaining about the runtime, and then, let them make a 1-hour superhero movie or a 2-hour and 20-minute superhero movie. Oh, it's too short. I wish it could have been longer. All right, but you didn't want the other thing to be longer. But maybe you just don't like Zack's stuff, and that's understandable. But I mean, it's not understandable to me, but it's understandable if you just don't like it.
Necessary for the story to feel significant, emotional, and for there to actually be some suspense and tension, but it also contains a lot of additional clutter that does distract from the best elements of the film.
Additional? I wouldn't call it additional clutter. I don't see how it's I wouldn't call it additional clutter. Just it doesn't. I feel like it doesn't distract from the main premise, in my opinion. Like,
in terms of both pacing and running time, I think the best version of this film overall would land somewhere in between the two.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I can see why, if they made it in a 3-hour, if they made it in the exact same time as Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, 3 hour and a 30-minute movie, I feel like people would have been, I feel like the studio would have been good, and I think fans would have been good. Part 3.5. 3.5.
The two.
A brief aside about editing.
All of this pacing is coming from basically differences in the editing, and the editing in the two films is not that dramatically different.
Nigga, why is it this bright? Like, this doesn't need to be this bright. It doesn't need to. Like, this right here is good enough. Like, maybe, like, if you didn't like the dark tone, you know, brighten it up a little bit, but it doesn't need to be this. His orange lab, his orange stuff on his jacket is hella orange. Like,
different outside of the pacing. Most of the places you're pulling from the same footage to edit the scene, so it's not like in the original Whedon cut the scenes are, you know, using dramatically different angles or anything like that. Mostly it's the same camera angles being used, it's just tighter,
and then it ends there, bro.
Pacing, cutting through things, cutting out anything that's unnecessary to the plot.
Bro, this makes so much sense. Holy shit! Like, really think about it. If you're complaining about it's a little longer, think about it. This nigga cut this down because he heard a noise, right?
From the same footage.
He heard a noise. He walks in, and then you just tell me he walks in and he just sees this.
Edit the scene, so it's not like in the original Whedon cut.
Compared to, oh, he was mopping, stop, heard a noise.
The scenes are, you know, using dramatically different.
He heard a noise. He's walking up to see what's up. He opens it up. Bro. Whedon's version, the dude's already in the room. Look at this. The door's closed, right? You need a key thing to get in, right? So look, dude, he hears a noise. Oh, what? Cuts. Opens door. Sees red glowing thing. Sees somebody's in there. Opens it up. The being, you don't even see the parademon. Here, walks in here because he heard a noise, and it showed him putting his mop down. Like, the thing is, people don't like. I feel like studios and other people don't realize the small stuff matters. Him walking in and seeing a big ass hole. How did the parademon get in? That's the first thing. How did the parademon get in? 2. Why didn't they show what the parademon looked like? You see, you show him behind the curtain. You show him behind the little curtain thing, but it's blurry. You don't get the full look. Why'd you cut it?
Cutting out anything that's unnecessary to the plot. There are definitely some instances where different shots are used, however. Here, editing is being used to manage the tone. The Snyder cut is darker. We see the violence in a little bit more of a visceral way, and the Whedon cut kind of tries to avoid that. We stay on the villain's face and we don't see who he's shooting, and so here editing is being used to kind of manage the tone as well and try to keep the film a little bit lighter in the original cut.
Part 4. Oh no. Oh, you know, nothing important. Just stuff like character development. Oh my god. This nigga Whedon fucking cut out character development, and it's like he just totally did not care about it. Like, it was so bad.
The resurrection of Superman shows how even small changes can have a big impact on how significant the scene feels. Here's how they raise the idea in the original.
If you were in a conductive field, boost from the mother box
could bring him back to life.
It's just kind of tossed out as an idea.
Yeah.
It's
just tossed out like
I know we're all thinking the same thing right now. Who's gonna say it? I'm not gonna say it.
And bro, the music, the way they do it, like, they know, like, we all know who they're talking about, but they're not talking about it. And then Cyborg shows a hologram of him. Bro, it's just more epic. It's just more epic. This movie, I like Zach's movie, and I don't mind the dark tone because it makes the movie feel more epic, including the music. Whedon's version is just like the dude said, a montage of saturation and highlights of the movie. That's what that version
Same
feels
thing
like.
right now. Who's gonna say it? I'm not gonna say it.
Listen to that music, bro.
Maybe a little bit overly dramatic, but you get the idea. It feels more important, more epic, more significant. One of the things
I
that
don't
bothered
mind
me
it
about
being
the
super
original
drama.
is that this moment felt a little anticlimactic and insignificant.
Yeah.
And in the Snyder Cut, I think it hits much harder.
Because he showed Lois. They showed Lois. Lois is there. She sees Superman.
There's also a big difference in how they set up the stakes at the moment of revival. As a viewer, you kind of know that it's already going to work, so you have to infuse this scene with some kind of drama. In the original, there's just a general sense that things might go wrong. Aquaman literally says,
This is crazy.
and
This is a bad idea.
but we don't really have an idea of
Yeah.
why.
He
The only
just says this is that's the other. I remember that too because when I saw that movie, that's all he said. He's like, this is not a good idea. This is a bad idea. And then when shit went wrong, I told you it was a bad idea. What you say it's a bad idea. Why is it a bad idea? You just say it. You don't explain why. The Whedon doesn't show why it's a bad idea. They just say it's a bad idea, which that doesn't help. Just saying it's a bad idea is just, it doesn't help, bro.
conflict here is the setup that,
You have to charge it the moment it touches the fluid.
which is just kind of lame and a little trite and weakens the scene. Compare that to the Snyder Cut, where the heroes need to resurrect Superman, but they know using the cube risks summoning Steppenwolf.
This action is irreversible.
He's afraid. You know Steppenwolf will come for it. We know that already. Continue.
Bro, it's the small stuff that makes the movie better. Like the fact that you take the weight of it, and like, because like you said, everybody knows that, oh, they're gonna revive Superman's gonna come back, right? And then the fact that you're just like sitting there and just going, oh, you have Aquaman just saying, I don't know about this is a bad idea, shit goes wrong, I told you it was a bad idea. Like, that doesn't work. Like, when they do that in movies, there's either the character explains it, or they show something to show why it's a bad idea, and then they go for it anyways. And then you have the character say, I told you it was a bad idea. That's how it works. That's how the writing should work. It shouldn't be, it's a bad idea. You shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do this. This is a bad idea. And then shit goes wrong. Oh, I told you it's a bad idea. We didn't get no reason why it's bad. Like, you're just saying it at that point. So for them to have where the computer's saying, oh, it was summoned, it will let Steppenwolf know where their location is when they do it. That's a bigger reason why, like, oh, we shouldn't do this, but we need to do it anyways. Like, totally different. Totally fucking different, bro.
It creates a possible cost to their actions, and they're willing to pay that. On top of that, the conflict with Flash shifts from
And their suits,
he needs to
and then
time
the tone, because of how dark it is, and you're showing the shots, especially the lighting too, it makes it more serious, which I really like. Like, to me, always, and it's not to say the Avengers aren't a serious team to take seriously or not, all that. I always saw Justice League more serious than the Avengers. And it's not to say, like I said, not to say they wouldn't be a serious team, but the Justice League, for some reason, it's just like, you just take them more serious than like any other team. Like, you just like know, like, oh damn, like, that's the Justice League. Oh shit, like, we might need to rethink about this. like I don't know. So like, what I like that Zach did for this movie is make it epic like I mentioned Lord of the Rings, in a sense. Make it feel like an epic movie, and it gives them, not only does he humanize these superheroes, but he also shows them in this like big, it's not even like they're gods, but like this big like godly form for them. And then it pointed to James Gunn naming his first phase of DC Gods and Monsters. So that's literally what Zach was doing. But hey,
things just right too. He's pushing his abilities to their utter limit.
I don't like to break this rule, but when I approach the speed of light, crazy things happen to time, but if I do it, I create massive electrical power.
Which,
see, Flash explains it, and it's like, oh, that could definitely go wrong. Like,
feels more significant and also plays into a payoff that comes at the end of the film. As Superman is being revived, it's intercut with these scenes of Lois Lane kind of going about her life, and then we get this moment where she sees him, and this creates an emotional arc for this section. These moments are all cut out of the original, and you can cut those out because, like, technically they're not really important to the plot. Lois Lane, like, doing stuff.
Yeah, it's not really important to the plot, but it doesn't give you. But when you get to the big payoff part, and you have that cut out, it doesn't really. You don't really get a good like emotional gravity feel to when Superman and Lois like meet up again for the first time, and she sees he's alive. It just doesn't feel the same if you cut a lot of it out. Like, I'm not saying you should have all of it in, but like you cut majority of that out. Like, you just like, okay, Lois shows up. Why is she here? Why does she show up? Now it didn't make sense. Like, Zach's version, it made sense because Lois was going to visit his grave, visiting there all the time. You know, she'd get her coffee, visit, you know, and then go to the Daily Planet to go work. And I don't know if she took her time away from Daily Planet, but yeah, so that would be her thing. So when events like this happen and Superman, they revive Superman shows up, she's already at the site because this is her routine of going to that site and paying respects to her to Superman. But in Wee's version, it's cut.
Going about her day leading up to this moment, it doesn't affect the plot, but there's more that's important to a interesting, entertaining film than just like the step-by-step beats of the plot.
Right.
We need emotion.
Right.
One of the ways to generate emotion is reaction. And so if you have this character there, we see how they're reacting and responding, it feels more emotional. One of the things that I really didn't like about the original cut was just I never felt connected to any of the characters. They didn't seem very human. I didn't have time to really connect with their emotions. There wasn't much backstory involved here. And you can lodge some of those complaints still about the Snyder Cut, but you definitely get
what complaint? How is that the same complaints?
Connect with their emotions. There wasn't much backstory involved here. And you can lodge some of those complaints still.
How can you lodge those same complaints in here? There's emotion in there. There's you actually get to relate to the characters. I relate to Cyborg because I played football. I have a mom who supported me when I played football. And I have a dad that, you know, work. Yeah, I'm not saying and my dad would come and try to support whenever he can, but he had to go work. So I relate to Cyborg in that sense. I relate to Barry in the movie because he's like a social outcast, and he feels weird, and he's just looking for friends. So he joins the team, you know, saves the day and all that, but he has a group of friends to like, or a team to like, you know, hang out with. I relate to him on that. Like, there's stuff I relate to these characters in Zach's version because we get time to be with them, to understand who they are, understand, like, other than Wonder Woman, we already know because of her movie and Superman, and even Batman because everyone knows Batman's story. It's these other characters that we don't know. We get more of an idea on. Even Wonder Woman and Batman in here, we still get more stuff on in the sense of we see Bruce's arc from going to, oh man, I need to stop metahumans and stop crime and brand these villains to, all right, you know, I was doing it wrong. We need to bring each other together. We need to work together because there's a big threat coming. You see Batman's growth in this movie, like from Batman v Superman to here. So you see the growth. Like, it's just I don't know what the dude's saying in the sense of you could say the same thing in this for Zach's version, but like you can, but it'll be hard to make a good argument about
the Snyder Cut, but you definitely get way more of this kind of thing in the Snyder Cut, and I think a lot of that just has to do with the fact that there is more room to breathe. You're actually spending some time with the characters. A great example of this is Cyborg and his relationship with his father. We get all this detail about his backstory. Then there's a subplot with his father who ends up sacrificing himself, and it gives the character a little bit of an emotional arc. There's actually some emotion, some personal human backstory happening here, and this just all gets cut out in the original. I think it's also worth saying that the Snyder Cut does push this stuff like too far in some cases. Like when we're setting up the backstory for Cyborg, we probably don't need the hugely dramatic scene of bulls fighting to represent the stock market.
The world's monetary.
Why not? Why not? The fuck?
Systems and its complex interactions will seem as easy to manipulate for you.
And the scene where he's like,
why? Like it gives you a visual look of you're going into his mind and what he can do. Like
hacking.
Like that's like saying we don't need to see Ultron going into the internet and you know going through and looking at what's going on in the internet and all of that. That's like saying the same thing. Like that's basically saying the same thing like that. Like What you mean?
An ATM to give money to a poor family. Those both kind of establish the same thing, and it's a little redundant, and the movie's 4 hours long. So overall, I'd rather have a little bit too much development so that I actually become invested in the characters than none at all, like we see in the original.
I get what he's trying. I get his point. And the reason I'm acting like this is just like I'd rather have too much development, and it helps the story than less development and have more questions to make the movie, and then that makes the movie bad. Like nah, bro.
Let me show you a cool example that shows just how significantly context and setup can impact our perception of a moment by looking at the scene where the heroes fight together for the first time. So going into a scene like this, you have the conflict of the heroes are teaming up for the first time and they're trying to go in and take out this target. But what makes a scene like this even more interesting is if you give it additional layers of conflict. And both films do this, but differently. In the Snyder Cut, we have Cyborg. Cyborg's dad is in with the hostages, and so there's this emotional conflict within Cyborg. They are trying to not attack individually, they want to work all together, but Cyborg ends up breaking that rule because he wants to save his dad, help his dad. In the Whedon version, since the storyline between Cyborg and his dad has kind of been cut out, I'm assuming they kind of reshoot or add in this element of the Flash being nervous about whether or not he's going to be useful.
Full transparency, I've never done battle. I've just pushed some people and run away.
Save one.
What?
This affects the way we see the two scenes.
And it's not to say that dialogue was bad, it's just the way it fit into the movie. It just didn't fit for me. Like, I understand the whole pushing thing, right? But save one. And
I watched the original version. This moment felt very significant. It felt like sort of the culmination of his arc for the scene because he was in conflict. Am I going to be able to be helpful? And then super stylized fashion, he's shown being helpful, and it sort of resolves the arc of that conflict. In the Snyder Cut, we don't have that setup. And so when you get to this moment, it's just a little bit of a cool thing. The last thing I have to say about stakes is to address one of the few things that was actually added.
You know what? I'm not mad at that. Like, you know, if Zach had that in there, it would fit.
The Whedon Cut, which is this Russian family that lives near where
the
baddies.
This right here pissed me off. Why is there a Russian family near a Chernobyl site?
That was actually added in the Whedon Cut, which is this Russian.
And there's no reason to add this. You're mad. The people, they were mad about. They're mad about fucking the movies being long, but you want to add a insignificant part of the movie. This was not. There's no reason for this to be in the movie.
Family that lives near.
If you want to talk about like stuff that was unnecessary to be in the movie,
where the baddies' hive has been established. Normally, I would applaud the motivation behind something like this.
No,
one of my complaints about a lot of superhero films is that the stakes feel very distant from the reality of saving real people in the world. Right. In the Snyder Cut, we don't get a visible sense that there are real people in danger. There's mostly this abstract concept of evil looming, threatening to destroy the planet. So in theory, having something like this family should help the stakes feel more human, immediate, and relatable. Except that it doesn't, because it's so clearly just...
I was about to say, it doesn't. They make it a jokey thing. When Flash saves them, they even turn it into a joke. Also, and then on top of that, it's just like, bro, why are they out here in the middle of a Chernobyl site and they're the only family out here? Like those are the issues.
Just a patched in attempt to try to do just that. Since it was added in after the fact, nothing that's going on with this family feels like it was connected to anything else.
At all.
And the payoff just ends up being a lame moment and a cheap joke.
Dostoevsky.
This is a great example of the solution being worse than the problem. I love the idea of trying to add a more human pedestrian element to make things more relatable.
I'm not mad at that, but it needs to make sense. Why is there a family out there in the middle of that place anyways? That doesn't make no sense. Like if you were to say like this was near a small town, right? And they were living in that area near a small town or something like that, or this was happening in a small town. Okay, I understand that. I understand, save them, but this is in the middle of an abandoned area. Why are they even here?
Stakes more immediate, but how you do something often matters.
And then if there's a good, perfectly reason why they're there, why didn't Josh Whedon film something to the fit of why they're actually there? They're the only family there, and there's no one else for miles that lives there. Make that make sense. But he can put context for I never done battle. I just push people. He can put context for other stuff, but he can't put context for that. I'm just saying.
Just as much or more than what you do in a film.
Epilogue, creating more problems than you
I think
solve.
in my notes I have written down for this scene, real cornfield, like.
Real cornfield?
Here, the cornfield they're standing in, to me, actually feels like real in the Snyder Cut. In the Whedon cut,
the
original.
Whedon, bro. I don't know if it's because it's the lighting or they're in like somewhere in a green. It doesn't feel real, bro. Like this looks so like they brighten it so like much, and the lighting of it makes it seem like this is like a green screen, and then like I don't know. I agree with that. It doesn't feel real, bro.
Here,
and especially how it's shot too, you could tell this is like real compared to this.
The cornfield they're standing in, to me, actually feels like real in the Snyder Cut. In the Whedon cut, the original, it just feels fake. For whatever reason, whether it's just bad taste.
Bro.
On Joss Whedon's part, or whether it's just that he had less money or was working quickly. A lot of the reshoots that he's doing that are in the original Justice League are just not well done. The quality of the writing is low quality. The quality of the CG is lower. This also applies to the back.
CG's lower, the quality's low. Oh my god. It's
not well done. The quality of the writing is low quality. The quality of the CG is lower. This also applies to the bad guy. Like, this version just looks like a bad video game character to me.
It does,
and this version looks more real, a little more sinister even. Hey, we need a scene with some exposition to patch in this scene that we cut out for time. And so it's like, oh, instead of...
it's so hilarious. Hey, we cut this out for for less time, but we need exposition in this part. So it's just like, yeah, we cut this out, but we need to put something in here. So you're just really just either replacing or adding a little more time. Like that's the hilarious thing.
Of going to an inventive location or something interesting, we'll just shoot Gal Gadot and Ben Affleck like walking beside a lake or something.
Why?
I understand why the Snyder Cut is 4 hours long, don't get me wrong.
Right.
Snyder had the opportunity to release his cut, shoot some additional material, and just put out whatever he wanted for the fans, and he took it. But I'm trying to evaluate this as just a film and take it out of the context as sort of a pop culture lore collectible item. And I know a lot of people love the fact that a certain someone shows up, but when I look at the film as a contained story,
I often wonder,
what on earth is this scene even doing here? So that's my best shot at diagnosing the technical reasons why I think the Snyder...
if we're just talking about from a cinematography standpoint, I understand what he means. Like, the epilogue is unnecessary. The epilogue is unnecessary in a sense of if we're talking about like film, just the film wise, like that was like a scene that was unnecessary. But if we're talking about overall, like the overall thing, and not just like from a filmmaking standpoint, I don't see a problem with it, and I actually like it, like because you're looking at a filmmaker standpoint, which is it's understandable. Like, that's understandable. Like, it's unnecessary. You don't really need it, especially like they barely, there's no mention of them until like the end or whatever. So that's understandable. But overall, especially what Zack was trying to do was try to continue it to the next Justice League thing by showing a little more about the nightmare scene. It fits. I mean, I don't want to say it fits, but like I don't mind it. I like it. Like, it gives me like a kind of like a after credit scene a little bit. It's like, I think we got like what that was like. It should be like 3 after credit, or no, 2. It was the Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and then it was that, right? Or it was the other way around. Either way, they were both the end credits.
Your cut is so much better on a lot of levels. If I had to actually give my review of the Snyder Cut, I don't think I could say it better than Rich from Red Letter Media.
Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League is an unbutchered mess.
That's true.
While watching 6 hours of Justice League material was a nice diversion for a week. I think I've reached my quota of superhero stuff for at least 2 years now. So it's back to talking about Bergman and whatever else it is I do on a regular basis. And if you're like me, you want to break and you want to explore some other kinds of film, I recommend you pick out something to watch on Mubi. I recently watched Dark Star, a documentary about the artist H.R. Geiger, who designed the xenomorphs for the Alien films. You could check out that, or you could check out The Holy Mountain, which, like the Justice League, is about a group of people who come together to... Honestly, it's nothing like the Justice League, it's probably nothing like anything else you will ever watch. And that's what I love about Mubi. Here you'll find fascinating, interesting stuff that it's difficult or impossible sometimes to find anywhere else. And that's because they have a team of people hand-picking interesting stuff for you to watch on their platform. Right now, my list of stuff that I want to watch on there is getting so long, it's kind of getting out of hand. So if you want to expand your exposure to international, art house, and classic films with access to a library that's hand curated and is updated daily, give Mubi a try by going to mubi.com/ThomasFlight, click the link in the description, or go to mubi.com/ThomasFlight. That'll give you an extended 30-day free trial when you sign up for free to try Mubi. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thank you to my patrons who really help support my channel and what I'm doing. When you become a patron, you can get access to additional content I make. I do a podcast every month where I talk about what I've been watching. I make bonus review videos where I let my patrons choose a movie for me to watch every month, and then I review it. There's a Discord where you can ask me questions, hang out, and discuss things. Learn how you can become a patron and join the community by going to patreon.com/ThomasFlight.
WVid, bruh.